My role model as a manager is Homer Simpson. Yes, the yellow guy who never leaves his couch. He happens to be the safety inspector at a nuclear power plant. So this guy has quite a few responsibilities, and yet he takes his time. At work, he naps, he eats donuts, and takes a break every 30 minutes. Homer Simpson might just be the least hurried man on earth. Homer is the exact opposite of me. I'm constantly underwater. Things are always hectic. I always feel swamped. I feel like I spend my days inventing new ways to say that I'm constantly overwhelmed. And yet my job is not like Homer's. It certainly isn't a matter of national security. So why is this? Why am I always running between the 3 p.m. project follow-up and the 5:30 p.m. brainstorming meeting? Why has everything become so urgent? Do I really have too much work? Is this an organizational problem, or is it modern management that pushes me to hurry? And what if managing one's time well was actually the hallmark of good managers? Maybe all the managers in the world could learn a lesson or two from Homer Simpson. Make sense? Make sense. Welcome to Make Sense, a leap in pop culture to explore societal challenges. A podcast from SKEMA Business School. To get to the bottom of this, I called upon a man who manages over 60 people across 12 different time zones. This man is no other than Cédric Laforge, a graduate of SKEMA Business School and International Marketing Operations Manager at a luxury watch brand, Vacheron Constantin, the world's oldest watch manufacturer, operating since 1755. So, get ready, we'll begin in exactly 5 seconds.
Spider Pig, does whatever a spider pig does.
Hi, Cédric. How are you?
Hi, Mary. I'm doing very well. And yourself?
I'm very well, thank you. So tell me, Cédric, I mentioned in the introduction that Homer Simpson is a paradox. We know that he has some serious job responsibilities, yet he never seems overwhelmed. So the question is, are we feeling overwhelmed because we have too much work?
I would say no. Definitely, we're not overwhelmed because we have too much work. It's because we have sometimes a problem of time management. It's a matter of prioritizing and making sure that everything runs in harmony, that nobody is left on the side of a project. So we have a lot we can do as managers on making sure that people are able to prioritize, people are able to do their work in the best way. And I think that we are all capable of doing it. Being overwhelmed is a personal feeling. Most of the time, it's not the reality.
Have you personally ever felt overwhelmed, or as the French would say, underwater?
Being underwater is a very French concept, I would say. Before entering SKEMA, I had the chance to study at SKEMA. I went to the French preparatory system. We call it classe préparatoire in France. And there you learn how to be waterproof, like how to manage your time very efficiently, etc., to work very hard, to fulfill each and every minute. And I would say that in France, we have, or I would say in Europe in general, we have a post-Fordist mindset that each and every minute should be fulfilled. And I'm sure we can do better.
Is it different elsewhere? Do you think that employees in other parts of the world might feel less overwhelmed than we do here?
It's different, but I would say that it's really a European phenomenon to be like overwhelmed, being underwater, that's for sure. I've been working, for example, in Switzerland for the last 15 years. I have the chance to run teams of around 60 people all over the world. And really, I learn from them all the time, really. And for example, my Asian colleagues that I really appreciate strongly because they are so agile. They know how to be super highly resilient in everything they do. They know how to build, their network to find solutions all the time, etc., etc. So it's really, really something that they are good at, and it's a different approach to time. And it's definitely not something we have in Europe, for example, or in France. If you take France as a good example, when you speak to a French person, everybody is always, "Oh, I'm sous l'eau. Je suis sous l'eau. I'm underwater." No, it's not happening. Just manage your time properly.
What do you think is the fundamental difference then? Why is it that the Asians know how to manage their time better? You said resilience, but what does that mean?
For me, resilience is the capacity of course, yes, coming out of a crisis with better, but it's also learning from your mistakes. And of course, in terms of time management, you can learn from your mistakes, from a project you run, you can learn from it. And with my Asian teams, there is always like a debriefing session, very strong debriefing session, where everybody says, okay, I've been doing this right, I've been doing this wrong, I could be more efficient in this, I could be more efficient in that. And we all learn from this. And I can tell you that my team that I took like 5 years ago all over Asia, now they are super highly efficient, and I could go to the moon with them with no problem, because I know that I would come back for sure.
It's interesting because it's not a problem to say that you made a mistake or you did something wrong. 12 time zones. If you were a city, you'd be New York, the city that never sleeps. How do you actually manage a team that never sleeps without getting overwhelmed yourself?
Basically, you need to be super efficient in everything you do. You need to cut like things which are unnecessary. You need to give feedback on everything you do. It could be feedback on the project itself, on the management of a team, on the management of a project, on the management of anything we do in the company. And of course, there is also feedback that you can give on resources allocated. You can give feedback on everything to improve the time management, to improve the project management, to improve everything around your company. That is so important. You have every tiny detail to improve all over the life of your company. For example, I can take the example of an anecdote I had at Chopard. For instance, I went to my CEO and he told me once, because I told him, yeah, je suis sous l'eau, I'm underwater, I cannot take this project. And he told me, why? He told me, show me your time schedules, show me your calendar. I showed him, I was so proud on my phone, everything was so packed from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I was so proud like this, just like came out of SKEMA, so proud. And then he told me, how come? I told him, what? How come it's so packed like this? Because I pay you just to think of and reflect on the project you're running. You don't have time to think of and reflect on the project you're running and find better efficiencies, better ways to deliver good results. He told me, you're delivering good results, but you don't have time to think about it. And this is not acceptable. So then I came back the next week with the time schedule, with the proper timing to reflect and think of all my project, all my work on a daily basis.
This isn't India. Where's the University of Notre Dame? The Indy 500? Wrigley Field? Dodger Dogs?
You ignorant American. You have confused India with Indiana, Indiana with Illinois, and the Cubs with the Dodgers.
Oh no, I took a job on the other side of the world.
Well, that reminds me of the Simpsons episode where Homer is sent to India to run a company. And his employees absolutely adore him, mainly because he introduces structured breaks. What do you think of structured breaks?
Breaks matter. Breaks really, really matter because with breaks, you can, of course, reflect, as we just said, but you can also improve your creativity. You can improve your way of doing businesses. You can also kind of rethink of the details, rethink of the strategy, rethink of all possible aspects that you've been putting in this project, and it's so important, to take these breaks, and it's also a matter of sustainable performance, because as the manager, again, that's a post-Fordist ID. I would say that we were supposed to be result-driven all the time and only deliver results in the last 25 years. Now, a good manager, and I have really, really a lot of chance because all my managers all over the world are very, very like this. We always want to deliver sustainable performance. And it's always better for a maison, a luxury maison, which is over 270 years. We're just here to pass on history. We're just here to be better every day and to bring the maison to the top. So that's a very, very important value that we share at Vacheron Constantin, and that I make sure to convey, to bring to my teams all over the world.
Why do you think things have become so accelerated?
I think that things have become so accelerated because we only rely on instant performance, and we never think of like the future. Okay, for instance, when you are learning topics or your courses at SKEMA, you are definitely thinking ahead for the future. It's not for nothing that SKEMA is the school of knowledge economy and management. Is that you're preparing your future, not like to be good tomorrow, but to be good also in 15 years, in 20 years, in 25 years.
Cédric, do you personally take breaks as often as Homer Simpson?
Homer, I tell you, I would love to be like you, in full honesty, but it's obviously difficult. It's obviously difficult because you have to. I try to take breaks, but I learned from my career, and especially in the gemology side of things. I'm a gemologist myself. I learned from what we call lapidaries in India. Lapidaries are the people who are cutting the stones for high jewelry, and they can sometimes take time, like pause on the cutting of a precious stone, put it on the side, and make sure that they will redo it or work on it again 1 day after, 2 days after, just to make sure that their eyesight is fine, just to make sure that they are not cutting it in the wrong way. And sometimes tenths of a millimeter can make the difference on the shine of a precious stone. So it's really, really important to be able to pause on a project sometimes to reintegrate creativity in everything you do.
It's interesting because we always feel like we're in a rush and we want to get the project finished and we want to hand everything in, but it's interesting to hear your perspective on that. Do you think that it's necessary to put a project on pause?
I would love to tell you no, because we always look for efficiency, but definitely it's a big yes. It's a big, big yes. Because sometimes you're willing to run like 67 projects all at the same time. And if you don't pause one, you're not good at the other, etc., etc. So it's obviously very important to pause on a certain project or on the other. But of course, be sure to keep on tracking your project, keep on, for example, if you run an event, if you pause on the creation of the event, of course, don't be late in the timing. So, of course, there is a way to rejuvenate creativity in all this, and also re-energize your team. It's very important to keep the level of energy in your teams. All over the world, we are working with lean teams nowadays in each and every company. So it's super important to re-energize your teams.
How do you re-energize your teams?
I tell them that I love them a lot, which is the truth, the truth, sorry. And joke aside, it's really like knowing them and knowing what motivates them. Sometimes it's a matter of like saying thank you. Sometimes it's a matter of like showing in front of people that that this person did an absolutely great job. There is a lot of efficiency we can gain from this. It's not manipulation. There is nothing to do with this, but it's just like liking people. If you like people, you know how to better manage them and to work on their efficiency and, of course, management of time.
Sounds like a lot of empathy there.
Is he the leader?
Of this chapter, there are chapters all over the world, and it has been foretold that someday a chosen one will...
Okay. I didn't ask for your life story.
So, in one episode of The Simpsons, Homer Simpson joins a secret society that does seem like a meaningless hobby at first, but actually it does give him connections and confidence and influence in his professional life. Do you encourage your teams to practice that kind of discipline, perhaps not gemology, but something similar?
Yes, of course, it's a matter of learning, first and foremost. So learning in your field. So go and see what the competition is doing. Go and see what other fields are doing, either in the luxury world or in the art world. We can learn a lot from art. We can learn a lot from perfume. We can learn a lot from fashion. Just go and see what we can take as a bit of a strategy here and there, just to make sure that we become better every day. And of course, learn from the other, connect with people, connect with your peers, connect with the people of your industry, etc., just to make sure, because everybody can be creative, everybody can foster creativity, and this is a good way, to also pause in your entire life to become better for the next day.
Isn't this idea of taking time specific to luxury? The luxury industry, we know it's prioritizing quality over quantity, but could the same philosophy work in other sectors? Maybe even in Homer's nuclear power plant?
Of course. In the luxury world, we have a very, very good approach to time. We give time to time. We give time to our artisan to craft the perfect luxury goods, perfect watch, the perfect luxury handbag. And what we learned throughout history, because most of our maisons are 200 years old or 100 years old, and it's very important for us to learn from this past that the best performance is when we give time to time, all the time, really. It's very, very important to understand that your performance is not for the next 2 minutes, but it's for the next 20 years, the next 15 years, etc.
Okay, so there's something very long-term in that perception of time.
Luxury is one of the most sustainable industry in the world, in full honesty. Everybody thinks that we are consuming goods and we are consuming materials and stuff like that, but we are very sustainable in the performance, in the craftsmanship, and in everything we do.
Okay, so for that system to work, you need a master watchmaker, someone who ensures everything runs in harmony. Is that your role?
I'm very lucky to be a marketing operation manager at Vacheron Constantin, and the organizational structure must be like this harmony or display with harmony all the time. And I try not to reinvent the wheel with each and every teams. For example, if a project or an event or like a PR project is super well done in one country, then we learn from it and we redo it somewhere else in the world. So there is a lot of watchmaking harmony, because at the end of the day, a watch is the harmony of small components. So we try to do it also within the teams. So by constructing the good teams to run it in harmony, and also, of course, after with the project, not to lose time and be efficient.
It really sounds like there's a lot of trust and empathy in everything that you're saying in your management, for instance.
I told you I could go to the moon with my team, but I really mean it. Each and every person in my teams all over the world are powerful in their own field. They are expert in their own field, and they know how to run their project in harmony with their peers in the team. We really, really tell them, and that's part of the hiring process, you are entering an harmony that should be kept forever.
In the opening credits of The Simpsons, Bart writes a different sentence on the blackboard each time. If you had to write one sentence, so one piece of advice for those who are feeling overwhelmed, what would you write?
It's very difficult to have it in one sentence, but I would say dream bigger than your neighbor. That's very important, and allow yourself to be successful, okay? Sometimes in Europe, especially, we don't allow ourselves to be successful and express it, show it to the world. So it's very, very important. And I ask all my SKEMA students, because I have the chance to give classes at SKEMA sometimes, to dream very, very big. Like, you want to be the queen of the world, be the queen of the world. Really, it's very important, because as we say, if you dream for the moon, you will reach the stars.
Thank you very much, Cédric. That was very interesting.
Thank you, Mary.
Thanks to our guest, Cédric Laforge. You already know that mastering your time sometimes begins with slowing down. But make no mistake, yes, everything is speeding up. I'm not the only one saying it. In his 2013 book, Social Acceleration, A New Theory of Modernity, sociologist Hartmut Rosa argues exactly this. According to Rosa, one of the structural features of modern societies is acceleration, meaning an overall increase in speed. He highlights technological acceleration, transport, communication, production, information technology. In his view, recent innovations, to which we can now add AI, save us time while simultaneously increasing the number of things we can do. And that is precisely the problem. We constantly fill the time we gain with new activities. Clearly, a complete nightmare for Homer Simpson, hence that persistent feeling of never having enough time. That feeling actually has a name. The researchers John Robinson and Jeffrey Godbey call it time famine. In other words, the subjective sense of lacking time even when the objective amount of free time hasn't decreased. Still, it's not only a matter of perception. In the book, The Overworked American, The Unexpected Decline of Leisure, published in 1991, the American economist Juliet Shaw identifies a double phenomenon. First, contrary to what one might expect, since the 1970s, the historical decline in working hours has come to a halt and in some cases has even reversed. Secondly, at the same time, she observes an intensification of work. The amount of effort or activity expected during working hours has increased. According to her research, in a context of economic competition, companies have pushed employees to produce more within the same amount of time. Other researchers, like Gloria Mark, has put forward another factor, the fragmentation of attention. Even before the smartphone revolution, she was already studying in 2008 the consequences of digital work. So we switch more and more rapidly from one activity to another. An email here, a Teams message there. When our attention is interrupted, the cognitive cost of task switching can be significant. We have to pause the task at hand, deal with the new one, and then find our way back to the original task. Not exactly a recipe for efficiency, and Homer Simpson and you probably know exactly what that means. Fortunately, a researcher at SKEMA Business School points to a possible solution, and it is not individual but systemic. In a 2019 article, Learning in and from Projects, the Learning Modes and a Learning Capability Model, Paul Gardner and his co-authors echo the view of our guest Cédric Laforge. Their work argues for greater organizational clarity. They show that the most mature organizations are those that mobilize the greatest number of learning mechanisms. They capture and share knowledge more effectively and turn it more easily into efficient practices. In other words, mastering time is not only an individual matter, it also depends on an organization's ability to genuinely learn from the projects it carries out. Well, with all of that in mind, let's hope that Homer Simpson can actually pass this message on to his famous boss, Mr. Burns. If Homer's son Bart had to sum up this episode in one sentence on his famous blackboard, he would probably quote the French moralist Jean de La Fontaine, "Slow and steady wins the race." But there's another episode of Make Sense, the podcast of SKEMA Business School, which teaches us an additional lesson, that of Hakuna Matata. In other words, no worries. Inspired by the motto of the Lion King, you'll discover how to innovate with very little. Enjoy the episode and happy listening.